Hello and welcome to week 4 of Religion in America. I'm Dr. Bourne. I'm your professor or your host for this online session. So this week, in week 4, we're going to be looking at religion as we move into the Civil War here in the United States. And also just be looking at a couple of different things with regard to these reformer movements. And so we'll talk about those in just a second. Then we'll be looking at answering the questions like, what is a religion? And are there different ways of thinking about what a religion can be? So how do we define what a religion is? Who defines what a religion is? So that's what we'll be talking about this week. So in going back, in one of the chapters, we'll be talking about the religious reformers and looking at the Mormons, or the Church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church. And looking, it's like, what was their approach in trying to go back and trying to reform the Christian movement that was happening in the United States? And why were they so successful? And so it's a very interesting group to study from a sociological perspective, and looking at what kind of demands do they make on their members. And so going all the way back to what we talked about last week, it's like, what makes them a strong religion versus some other, say, mainline Protestant denominations? Why do they have such a high socialization rate where the Mormon youth retain and keep and stay inside the church at one of the highest clips of any religion in the United States? So what do they do? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we'll also talk about religion leading up to and during the Civil War, and what happened with some of these denominations. And so what we'll find is, we'll see some of these denominations actually span the North and the South. They fractured over the question of slavery. And then what they did, and how did they go ahead and support their own view on this? And they went back and tried to find biblical justifications for supporting their own position. And so you have some of the same denominations using the same text to justify two radically different positions with regard to the question of slavery. And so what happened there, and they'll also talk a lot about, and the documentary you're going to watch talks a lot about and investigates a lot with regard to President Lincoln and his morphing views on the role religion plays in the American landscape during this era. So that's our historical approach for week 4 in session 1. In session 2, we're going to ask some interesting questions about what constitutes a religion. So what is a religion? And so we'll answer that question, but also think about, can other things that we don't necessarily regard as a religion, can they be considered to be a religion? Such as, can sports be a religion? Can civil religion be constituted and understood as a religion? What about something like Macintosh devotion? Could that be considered a religion? If you're passionate about something, does that mean that it can be a religion for you? So we'll look at a couple of these things, and we'll ask you to define religion. So what is a religion according to you? And then apply that definition to a couple different things to see, do they pass this test? Then we're also going to read an article on an idea called moralistic therapeutic deism. And it's an article written by Christian Smith, contemporary scholar, and his colleagues. He's at Notre Dame. But they did a study of religion in American youth, in American teens and young adults. And what they found is they discovered that across denominations, across regions, that there is an emerging kind of religiosity among American youth, and they call it this moralistic therapeutic deism. And so we'll get into that. It's a short article, but it's really interesting. I want to get your take on, are they on target, or are they off target? So we'll be looking at that. And that leads us into the midterm exam, which is also in this week 4. And so you're going to be expected to take the midterm exam. There's 2 sections of the midterm exam. The first section is going to be an online objective section, and this is going to be 30 questions, 30 multiple choice or objective questions that you have already seen. So these questions are going to be pulled directly from the reading quizzes you have already taken. So if you got a question wrong, make sure you go and find out what the correct answer is to that particular question. And if you need any help, let me know. I can point you in the right direction. So study the questions from the previous quizzes. Everything will be pulled directly from there. The other part of the midterm exam is a quote-unquote take-home. And so I'm going to give you 3 to 4 scenarios or 3 to 4 questions. You'll have some options with regard to which ones you want to answer. But those are going to be, and you're going to submit essays based on these particular scenarios. But what we're trying to accomplish with this take-home portion is get you to really wrestle with. It's not to say straight, what is moralistic therapeutic deism? Instead, get you to synthesize some of the information that you've encountered, apply some of the information that you've been mastering over the last few weeks, and really get a sense of your take, and really get you to be working with these ideas. And so I'll give you some case studies. You'll take on some roles, much like you did if you're asking with the church marketing group, or if you're a survey writer for Pew Forum. So that's going to be the second portion.